products. We can replace anything in plastic with fibre within 6 weeks. So these excuses of the plastic problem, well, plastic isn't the problem, we're the problem. We've done 1.2 billion products in 35 countries last year. As I said, you'll use my product every day, and I mean we need to quadruple that even to get close to challenging any part of the problem. The Fibre Bottle that we have, that's given us a lot of attention, we're the only people in the world that can do it with the patent. We build the machines for everything we do as well, which gives us a lot of strength. I've had so many big offers to take that off the table so they can control it.
Welcome to another episode of Big Risk Energy. And on this episode, I'm blessed to be joined by the one and only David MacDonald. David is the creator of the Fibre Bottle. He's the owner of Cullen Eco-Products and the EY Entrepreneur of the Year for 2022. 2022?
2022, yeah.
2022. David, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. Thanks. Nice to be here.
Amazing. So I want to dive right into it. At what moment in your life did you decide that you were going to dedicate yourself to fighting the battle against plastics?
I don't think it was a conscious decision to take on that battle. I think that, honestly, it was a natural progression. It was moving into an area where I could adapt what we were already doing, and with the focus on sustainability and the demand and the need and the good that we could do with our products, it kind of naturally fell into it. And that's where we are today. So it's been a natural progression. And I sometimes think innovation, people can always think it's brand new things. What I like to look at it is what can we use that's tested and proven to make good today. Maybe something that's been lost a wee bit in the past. What can I take and revamp and service you with what you need in today's environment? So I think natural progression, not one, this is what I'm going to do.
Really interesting. And was there always like a desire to have purpose for something you're building? Because I speak to a lot of entrepreneurs who start with, well, I want to make money, I want to build something, and then, try to find that purpose later. What's your journey with purpose been like around this?
I'll be honest, it's more, I'm a very humble person, very hardworking person. I don't get led away too easily. I'm not lavish or any of these things. So I think for me, building a business and employing people in quite a rough part of Glasgow, giving people opportunity and maximising the business's opportunity to grow, I think that's been the main focus. It's not been we're going to be a sustainable company. And you are seeing that a lot in new startups, which is fantastic. And I admire them for doing it and having that passion. But I think it's a very different thing to be able to supply billions of pieces of products in 35 countries to large conglomerates. It's very hard to get to that level when you just focus on the purpose. You need to be able to back that up with manufacturing and servicing and quality. And so I think it's been a gradual build, but the purpose is definitely there because I've had many opportunities to exit and be on a beach somewhere, but I'm still here and I'm more passionate now than I ever have been.
Amazing. That's actually a really, really interesting one, because I guess sometimes, well, all the time in business, actually you need to be able to control your emotions. And maybe sometimes when you're coming at something from a pure purpose perspective, without that, level-headedness and being like, well, actually this is the right thing to do to grow and to scale, actually that might have been a huge benefit.
Maybe that helps being Glaswegian, maybe being able to being quite calm and collected. But yeah, that's definitely helped. Definitely helped. And I think that helped with the earlier stage of my life, leaving school early or being forced to leave school early, working in the building trades and not really having anything handed to me or given to me to go and succeed. So I think from a young age it's been very realistic, very humble, and just getting stuck in and making it happen.
Amazing. I spoke to someone earlier today who is now a resilience coach, right?
Okay.
Take that for what it is. But he said to me that the key trait in the most resilient people is optimism. What do you think about that?
Good question. Yes, I would agree to that to some extent. I think just never get too high, never get too low. When you get your wins, enjoy them, but remember the bad days will come, and that's okay. Everyone has bad days, and I think to know that you're going to have them is the best way to keep going forwards. You know, understanding that you are going to have down times, things are going to be hard, you are going to be stressed, you're going to have sleepless nights, but that's part of the game, right? That's you need to not enjoy those moments, but understand that's the price you pay for success.
Amazing. It's incredible advice. And you touched on leaving school early.
Yeah.
At what, and the opportunities to exit and everything else, I'm sure there were times when you're, 15, 16 years old, the idea of probably getting the exit that you've already had on the table would have been beyond some incredible dreams, right?
Yeah.
What's allowed you to keep going in that way?
I think if anyone that knew me back then in school to see where I am now would probably think I was crazy and they would want to lock you up, But what keeps me going now? I think it's just the good we can do in the world with the products we have. It's that passion to keep going. I think that's what keeps incentivizing me to keep growing the business, creating new products. We can replace anything in plastic with fibre within 6 weeks. So these excuses of the plastic problem, well, plastic isn't the problem, we're the problem. So we've got to find new alternatives to replace plastic in this modern world that we live in. So I think the focus on new products and helping the world is what keeps giving me the drive to push on.
Wow, amazing. And it's incredible to hear how quickly people can make that significant level of change.
Yeah, but that then brings up the big question, do they want to change? And I think that's the root of the problem. Do the companies want to change? I think part of them does, part of them doesn't. Is it your personal beliefs against your corporate, that you have to get the dividends back to the shareholders? And I think for people as well, it's great to go, okay, I need to do this, but life doesn't work that way. You don't. We all know what we need to do, but we still have the pizza, we still have the drinks or whatever it may be. So I think it's a balance to find the right way.
And I imagine when working with organisations of the size that you work with, it's not a single individual making that decision, right?
Yep, exactly.
So a lot of people to navigate, and I guess it takes a while to build that reputation within an organisation before they're able to commit to that level of change.
Yeah. So I mean, we're 98% of the NHS products, you use our. I'd be amazed if someone didn't use our products on a daily basis. Cup carriers, 2 and 4 cup carriers, and majority of fast food chains within Europe. We're in every supermarket, so you get avocados, plums, nectarines. Any supermarket in the UK, high street, you'll buy from us. Dealing with the individuals that are involved with that process, especially if they're new products. So if you're going to replace a laptop from plastic into fibre, which is 100% plastic free and sustainable, there's a lot of red tape to go through. So you get used to that and you just keep moving forward.
I can imagine, and I can only imagine. And have you seen those conversations evolve over the last couple of years as people are becoming more conscientious around the climate emergency? How do you see things changing?
How long we got? Might need that 8 hours. How do I see that changing? I think honestly, because it's time to be honest and it's time to not just say what people want to hear. I think it's extremely flawed. I think that we are fed what they want us to know, and we try our best to do that. And when it all comes crumbling down, they just wipe it off and start again with something new. That's the truth. I think the big corporations do see sustainability as one of the top 3, price, service, and sustainability. We had a good example recently with one of the largest supermarkets in their flagship store here in London. And they had 38 bits of plastic they wanted to replace. And it all sounds great, but then it falls away because they know that even those slight increases, 7%, 10%, 12% on packaging, which we're talking pennies, we're not talking a lot of money here. When you add that to the volume they're doing, that heavily impacts shareholders and profits, right? So they don't tend to go down that route, but they love to have an option. And obviously I can't name names, but the Fibre Bottle that we have that's given us a lot of attention, we're the only people in the world that can do it with the patent. We build the machines for everything we do as well, which gives us a lot of strength. I've had so many big offers to take that off the table so they can control it.
Wow.
Yeah. They don't want to change. They don't want to use it, but they'll pay me a phenomenal upfront amount of money so that they can have control over that. So that's the world we live in.
Crazy. I mean,
sure that won't shock you guys.
Well, this is the thing, right? I was going to say it's crazy, but it's disappointing, but not surprising, right?
Yeah.
It reminds me of the story. I can't remember the guy in the 1950s in the US who had the water-powered car,
right? Okay.
And same thing.
It
got bought out. They did nothing with it, right? Because it wasn't in the interest of oil. So one of the things which I find amazing about you, and also so in keeping with most the Scottish people that I speak to, is the desire to not chat shit and just be real about the things going on.
Yeah.
But one of the things that is so impressive about you is you're speaking truth to power in this way, but you're still getting recognition and they're still working with you despite that, where actually maybe some of the things you're saying is calling them out in a way that makes them feel uncomfortable. How do you see that's happen?
I think that, so I own the business 100%. I've got no other shareholders. We've done 1.2 billion products in 35 countries last year. As I said, you'll use my products every day, and I mean we need to quadruple that even to get close to challenging any part of the problem. So really, for me, I'm not here to really impress anybody. I'm not here to sell myself. I'm just here to really have a voice for an area that's very unknown, and I think people are getting sick of trying to do their best and not having a clear direction on what we need to do. So many different things. Is it sustainable? Is it compostable? Is it biodegradable? Is it green? It's noise. It's all noise. And I think we've got to just keep doing the best we can do. And I think having that voice to help people understand what actually matters, I think that's really important in today's times.
Super interesting.
Did that answer the question?
Yeah, 100%. And that 1.2 billion number is just, it's almost impossible to get your head round, right, in terms of that many products.
Especially when you're trying to make it.
I can only imagine. Am I right in thinking, how old is the business?
So the business, Robert Cullen's and Sons, is 100 years old.
Right.
So weirdly enough, COP26 that was in Glasgow was our 100th year, which was incredible. So it fitted in really well. So it's just over 100 years old. So it was originally a box making business. Do you want me to explain a wee bit how we got into it? So the company went into administration. I'd sold a sportswear business that I was in previously. I was actually moving to London, and then the administrators got in touch saying that they really wanted to save the jobs, and I'd known a lot about the business. So I stepped back in, and at that point it was maybe, I don't know, £2 million turnover, 50 staff, and that's really what we got back into. So it was a corrugated box business, so boxes, right? That's what they'd done. So what the transition I made was using the waste from the boxes to turn into moulded fibre, to turn into pulp, which you'll use for cup carriers or avocados every day now. So we take that waste, we build large machines that press the waste into new product. So it's 100% closed loop system, 100% biodegradable, 100% plastic free, and can really tackle the plastic problem. And you're seeing that now with even the global market and interest in fibre and packaging solutions. Fibre is the number one material they're going to replace plastic. So we were just way ahead of the curve.
Wow. And
love to say I planned that, but I didn't.
You know what? It's so at what point was it a case of, hold on, there's a lot of waste here, there's got to be something we can do with it, or how did you come to ideate that?
Well, we were buying in product that was £120 per tonne. It was running through a process. We have quite a simple box making process, glue and die cutting, printing into stock, and then the waste that just came off of your die cutting was going into landfill. So really, that was a major waste for us in both ways of the word. And we took that waste in bales and then started pressing it into something new. And fibre's not been is not a new material. It's been around for a long, long time. But what we touched on previously, that innovation is sometimes taking an old material and turning it into something new that fits the demands of today.
Amazing. Something you mentioned before in terms of being real about what has to be done to make the changes that we want to see.
Yep.
This is more of a thought experiment, but at this point, is consumer behavior changing enough to solve the problem, or do you think there needs to be change on more governmental levels? Like us as individuals, are we enough now to make the change required, or is there going to be something at a much higher level to really make this work?
I think that what we're doing today is nowhere near enough. I mean, there has actually been hardly any change at all over everything you've heard probably over the last 5 years. Do we have it within us to change? 100%, of course we do. That's where we all need to step up, and that's why I said before, plastic is not a bad material. Oil is not a bad product. It's how we use it. It's our faults, and that's what needs to change. I mean, if you look back to our grandmother or even mother, I guess depending how old you are, how they used to shop, which wasn't that long ago, compared to how we shop now, is ridiculous. I mean, I love those turmeric shots. I don't know if you ever buy them.
Yeah, sure.
But you take a plastic bottle that size, consume it within seconds, throw it away in the trash. 9% of them get recycled per year. 91% doesn't get recycled. So that either goes into landfill, gets put in the oceans, or even worse, gets sold to third world countries and is burned. I went to Turkey and I've seen with my own eyes products you would buy across the road that are being burned out in Turkey and many other countries. So it's a mask on the face of a big problem. It's
so as ever, we outsource our problems to third world countries.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. And it needs to be led by legislation and politics, and unfortunately they want to do what's popular and they want to tell you what people want to hear. They don't tell you what you need to hear. And weirdly enough, in countries where there's more of a dictatorship, they are taking more of a stance because they're not trying to please, they're trying to do the right thing for the country. Now, they've got many things wrong, but they do many things right.
Super interesting, because I think that's one of the points that I hear time and time again about, especially in the, cost of living crisis that we have now, for example, which I think is hitting a lot of people. Yeah. People say they can't afford to make sustainable decisions right now, but that's because they're not being told the reality of, where things are going to be in 10 years' time. And actually, we all need to, if we can, especially, make these decisions. So, tell us, what is the truth? What does it look like in 10 years' time if we don't make the change, or 20 years' time? You'll know the time frames far better than me, of course, but what does this look like if we don't make the change?
Oh, how depressing do we want this chat to be?
Let's go real, because I think ultimately, it's about being as real as we possibly can be. And, it's... I had a conversation with the guys just earlier about a conversation I had with my doctor yesterday. Okay. And it's just, sometimes you need to hear it real. Yep. Right. So if you want to make those changes, sometimes you need to
rip off the plaster and just take the pain. Yep.
This is it. Yeah. So let's rip the plaster off.
Right. Okay. Give me the question one more time then, and I'll just be honest with it.
Okay. What happens in 10, 20 years if we don't make this change?
Well, we won't be here. You already see what's happening in the world just now. I can't go into too much detail, but I was invited to a very high-end discussion in Central Europe with a couple of key players that make some big decisions with government, not the British government, if I can be honest. And one of the biggest discussions at that time was, what is the biggest problem we face? And it's mass immigration. That's probably not what you're expecting to hear, but... from someone that travels a lot and has lived all over the world and currently spending a lot of time in the Middle East trying to help for COP28. As the world heats up and gets warmer and lack of water, lack of resources, you're going to find the hottest parts of the planet heat up even more, and they're going to become inhabitable. So what do they do when you're struggling to survive? You move. And unfortunately, the hottest parts of the world are normally the most overpopulated. And you're going to find landmass in areas that have resources and maybe calmer climates being overpopulated. And I can't see what government will do to prevent that when it becomes to survival. Now, that's not going to happen in 5 years. But you can imagine what that will do to interest rates, house prices, people in general trying to get above, ahead of the curve and survive. And unfortunately, that is where we're going. And that's not just a plastic problem, obviously, you know. Air pollution, you can already see it. I mean, if you get any dose of common sense, you can see what's happening in the planet with fires, with flooding. I mean, it's the proof's already here. So it's not about if it's coming, it's when.
It's, you can't put it any blunter than that, right? I think that's the reality of the situation.
Yeah. And by the way, I've got no gain in this. I'm not trying to sell you guys cup carriers today or, you know, get into a business of this. I'm good, but, you know, it's my job and my duty to say it, the things that I know about to get it out there so people can understand the difference. And I think everybody knows what they're doing is wrong. You know, not wrong, but they know it's not right to just buy things and throw them away. They know this. But as you touched on, we're all busy. I don't have the time to do that. I drink plastic. I'm not a tree hugger that's given up my life to stand in front of, you know, cars or whatever. But, you know, it's we've got so much noise in our lives just now with social media. Or we feel like we need to take on so many battles, when I think if we really focus on happiness, health and family, I think we'd be in a much better place.
It's fascinating. I think one of the biggest problems we have with humanity on an individual level, we then see throughout society, which is we all have such self-destructive tendencies. And when you apply that to a global level, it's like we know what we're doing, but we're doing it anyway, right? I don't think anyone, as you said, with a dose of common sense, is unaware of the impact all of this negative behaviour is having. But we keep doing it anyway. It's almost like a psychological problem as much as anything else.
Of course. And it's even the standards. I think standards is something that's really dropped away. You know, what are your principles? Who do you want to be? You know, and even walking down the street here, just getting back to the UK, you know, the trash that's everywhere, the quality we keep, you know, our streets for our families and our children and everything. I don't want to get too down on it, but I think it's fair to say we could all do a wee bit better. Me included, by the way. I'm right at the top of that. I'm not sitting here saying I'm perfect.
Of course. So practical advice then for anyone listening, what does that change look like? What do you suggest to someone who says, look, I want to do more, I want to do better. Where do I start?
Life cycle. Products that will naturally biodegrade if you are consuming. It's really not our challenge. That is for the businesses. But what I would say is the large conglomerates that control a massive percentage of what you consume will not change until you make a stand. So if you are reaching for that product you know is not good for the environment or not good for your health, the only way it's going to change is if people in volume make a change. And I think that's where you can make the most amount of difference. If you stop buying it, they'll stop selling it.
Love that. Simple economics, but it works every time, right? Stop buying, they'll stop selling.
Of course. Or they'll rethink about how to get you that product. I mean, the glass bottles is probably the easiest one to look at. Majority, everything could be in glass bottles now, but it's much cheaper to blow plastic and then not have breakages and have less costs for transportation across the globe. And, you know, it's small changes like that they can do, but it just eats into their profits.
Yeah, completely.
I sound like an activist here.
No. Listen, I think it's,
I've actually just left Intercontinental where I think Greta got arrested yesterday for the oil. Yeah. So I definitely wasn't part of that, just in case you think that's why I'm here.
All right, cool. Well, we'll switch it up then, because it's not often that we get to have a former owner of a football club.
Oh, okay, I thought that might come up.
Yeah, of course. So Hamilton FC.
Yeah, Hamilton, yep.
Talk to us about that. How did that come around? What was that journey like?
Yeah, I love taking black taxis here in London, and I was just chatting to my taxi driver there about football, etc. So, Yeah, a very rare, weird world. I'm sure I'm still. I'm definitely Scotland's youngest football club owner. I think I might be up there for Britain, but who knows? Let's just say it, right? Let's just go with it. But yeah, very, very lonely world, very stressful, and yeah, phenomenal time. Some of the best experiences in my life, but also a big burden to carry. And I don't think it's got anything to do with age. I think it's got a lot to do with just who you are as a person. And I could carry that quite well. I'll probably do it again. But yeah, at the time it can be very, very challenging, especially for something when you see your business growing and succeeding the way I have. As I was saying, the 1.2 billion in 34 countries, and seeing growth and success in a product doing extremely well for the public, for everybody, including profits. You can see your time creating something and progressing something and employing people and making a big impact. And then on the football side, I think it's such a drain and burn rate on money that I think that it's very, very different. Very, very different. Nobody in football treats a football club like business.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Nobody.
Except maybe the Glazers.
Well, sorry, not many. Not many. Not
United
many.
fan going through the pain at the moment.
Yeah. Not many. So when I say I mean non-board. I mean, if you go and speak to anyone really on the day-to-day in a football club, they've always been in that football environment, right? They've grown up as kids playing or coaching. They got into it young, and they've always lived in that environment. So when you speak to them about profits and planning and everything, it's water off a duck's back.
Yeah, absolutely. So my last company was in sports media, and we were fortunate to work with some really big sports companies, and that it's a real passion economy, right?
Okay.
It's do you know what I mean? People are there because they're passionate about it, they love it. But yes, it was so interesting. I went in, for meeting with Premier League clubs, and it was just so amazing to see that, especially with the non-big six, let's say.
Yep.
It was amazing to see how traditional those businesses were. Even the Premier League clubs are like, if it's match day, we can't do anything around match day. It's just like, wow, like it's such a different type of organisation to work with, which I thought was amazing. But I can only imagine the pressure. I mean, Scotland, football fans are passionate about their club, right?
Especially when you're 20 minutes from Glasgow. That adds to the pressure.
Yeah, of course.
Yep.
So how old were you when you took over?
So there was a consortium of us, but we had the largest share. What age would I have been? God, feels like such a long time ago now. 28.
Wow.
28 would have been involved. Certainly from 30, being very at the forefront of it. And yeah, as I said, many interesting times and many proud moments. Taking the under-21s to the Champions League for youth development football. We were, if you know anything about the club or my time there, everything was about youth development. So we outsold Rangers and Celtic by the time we were in the Premier League. We sold multi-million pounds of deals to Everton, Crystal Palace, so many clubs down south, and I'm really proud of that. Proud of taking people and giving them opportunity and seeing them flourish. I think that's the main way to progress if you're not one of the large clubs.
Amazing.
Rangers, Celtic, top six. If you don't have that fan base, and I think you've got to be able to understand where you are, understand what the club is, what it represents, and I think we nailed that. And the fans bought into it too, which made it a lot easier.
Incredible. One of the things that is really clear to me throughout our conversation is it feels like there's a real passion within you about trying to lift people up and trying to really enable other people to go on their journey and that side of things. Yep. Is that something that's reflective of your own background? Is it something that you've always been passionate about, helping others to social mobility? What does that look like for you? I
think it's probably the opposite. I think from I think from really being left aside from school and never went to university, really having to go and do everything on your own back and create it. I think I know people need help. I needed help at that time. Looking back now, reflecting back to being a young teenager, and you need help. You need honesty on what actually matters. There's a lot of noise out there. 99% of it's bullshit. So I think now I really want to do all I can to help and to support people and to give opportunity to people, because, I mean, the country, I can only really speak about Scotland, to be honest, but there's not a lot of opportunity in Glasgow right now. So it's my job and my duty to try and do as much as I can for for everyone that I can help.
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking just before. My dad's obviously from Glasgow, and being a city that I've loved and used to love going up to all the time, but it's definitely one which has got some unfortunate issues. And one of the stats that my dad told me, which I had to double check because my dad is a bit of an exaggerator, but I did double check it, and it was.
I like him already.
Scottish, right? And it was true. But the lowest life expectancy of men in Europe is Glasgow. Yep. And it's not close either. It's a really shocking figure, and I think the more that can be done to it's crazy. You're in London, you're in a bubble, and you don't realise sometimes the reality of what's going on in the rest of the UK, and why there are so many people who feel hard done by the government over the last 20 years, and probably longer than that, to be honest. It's amazing that there are people trying to make genuine change by building amazing, huge companies in those areas. So amazing.
And that builds grit in these people. It gives them, maybe they'll lack on the academic side or the kind of forward-thinking side, but I mean, these people have a lot of grit, a lot of determination, and they want to do better for their families. So if you can give them any type of opportunity, I mean, my first job after I had to leave school, I said this in another podcast before, was cleaning out a cement mixer that hadn't been cleaned in a week. And at that moment, I remember saying to myself, I've got nothing else, so I'll do the best job I can do here, or I don't know what I'm going to do, and just get stuck in. And I always kept that trait. And that's what's led me to today, that mindset, that kind of self-focus, self-confidence, whatever it is, no one's going to come save you. So you better roll your sleeves up and get stuck in.
Yeah. How much have you embodied a mentality of not accepting the standards that you're in? Because it's something that I speak to a lot of people about, and a lot of people say if you're truly uncomfortable, you will make sure you're no longer in that situation. Is that something that you buy into? Is it a case of just saying, well, look, I know that based on my background, based on my experience, that statistics say I should be here, but I'm not going to accept that. I'm going to make sure that I get the life that I want to have.
Yeah. I think it's a lot simpler than that, or it certainly was for me. Listen, if your back's against the wall, you can't go any further back, right? So you better come out swinging, and you better give it all. Do the best you can do, and listen, if you can give you the best you can do, and you aren't then a multimillionaire, or you aren't a CEO, or you aren't any of these other things, doesn't matter. You can only do your best, and I mean truly do your best and give it your all. And if you're doing that, then that's enough.
Incredible. Yeah. All right, I've got 5 questions that I ask every guest, not quick fire or anything.
Sorry, just quickly before that, that cement mixer was when I was 16 that I developed working on that house. That's the house I live in today.
Yeah?
Yeah. When I'd done that when I was
That's
16.
Incredible.
So just a wee funny moment. Sorry.
I know. How long after did you buy the house?
I only bought it 2 years ago.
Wow.
So and it's Glasgow's highest ever rental, because I'm now renting it out because I've got this project abroad. But the pointing that's on the walls was done with me and my colleagues when I was 16. So when I was doing the house up, if anybody ever said to me, "Oh, the pointing's not very good," I'd be like, "What?" I'd be raging. But
everything's great other than the pointing.
Yeah, exactly, which I done. But just a nice wee story.
Yeah, it's really, really nice. And I genuinely believe, and I've experienced so many of these, there are so many incredible full circle moments that the universe will give you and life will give you. And for me, it's always been so comforting when those full circle moments have happened, because then it's like, I know I'm in the right place. I know I'm on the right path in the journey, because I'm life is giving me the opportunity to finish some unfinished business or, connect the dots in some way.
I'm a big believer in that. I'm a very straight to the point, quite ruthless person. But certainly I do feel if subconsciously you have that goal to hit and that desire, whatever it may be, you will get an opportunity throughout your lifetime, and you've got to keep one eye out to take that opportunity.
100%. It's all about that. It's about awareness, right? You've got to have the awareness. And that's why I think the optimism and presence part is so important, because when you're so locked away in your own thoughts or seeing everything as negative, you miss those opportunities.
Of course.
Right?
And it's another reason why to really limit the noise in your world. I'm not going to go into it again, but, social media. I mean, when I look at social media, I feel like I've got 100 more problems to fix that have got nothing to do with me. I don't have a voice in those side of things. Everyone's got an opinion now. You don't need all the right answers. You just got to be focused on what it is you desire, what subconsciously you want to achieve, and get after it. Don't let anyone stop you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the biggest change, well, actually you can make a far bigger change than most, which is amazing. But I think what it's about is the opportunity that we have to change the world every single day is in the way that we treat people, treat ourselves, build opportunity for other people around us. Because the more you can empower, the butterfly effect of that is just insanely huge, right? Yeah. Treat someone well, treat someone kindly, treat someone with respect. Yeah. They go home, treat their kids well, treat their wife well. The butterfly effect of that, rather than screaming at someone and making them feel shit about their lives, of course, is massive.
Yeah. One wee thing I changed when I was, not actually that long ago, but it certainly helped. Everybody I meet on a daily basis, in the lift, someone selling me in a shop, whatever it may be, how was your day? Just, it's amazing the amount that people don't communicate with each other, and just having that natural everyday conversation with people to understand really what's happening, what's out there, and just communication is so good for the soul. So if anybody out there is trying to get started or do something new, just start talking to people. It's probably one of the simplest things, but it's very effective.
100%. And I hope everyone in London listens to that, because we've become...
Maybe more in London.
Well, this is it. We've become so transactional in communication here, where it's like we're almost walking around soulless at times in London. It's just literally, it's almost like dehumanizing. When you don't take those moments to really connect. Yeah. And to your point of social media, and I don't want to go down this rabbit hole if we can, but as human beings, we desperately and fundamentally need social connection. Yep. But we live in a world where we have replaced the idea of true social connection with Instagram likes or engagement, or pinging a message on Instagram to someone and being like, I've caught up with my mate, I pinged them on Instagram, right? Yeah. We need to, and especially for people, my age, when I was 14, Facebook comes out in a really big way, and then suddenly friendship becomes about quantity, not quality. My worth is based on the volume of friends I can amass, right? Which is so backwards to actual social connection. And I think that's exactly what you're getting into there. Sorry, it's a bit of a rant, but
No, I couldn't agree with you more, and it's something that I'm passionate about. I always think it's sometimes good to look at what people aren't doing rather than what they are doing. I will be very happy when I'm an old man, giving you your food packaging and giving you billions of products to live your daily life as you live in a fake world and speak to somebody and haven't seen anyone in 2 weeks. That's where I want to be. I don't really want to be too involved in that world, if I'm being honest.
Love that. All right, my first question.
With respect, obviously, because obviously you're semi in that world.
Of course.
Something that I've never been keen to be in that side of it. Because every young kid I speak to now, that's what they want to do. They want to be an influencer, want to do these things. And I think, right, well, who's gonna be the joiners? Who's going to be the people in manufacturing, etc. But
I see
that's a bigger conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I see that completely. And a friend of mine is a school teacher, and they recently did something where they asked the kids, what they wanted to be. Yeah. It was something like 45% wanted to be influencers. Wow. And when you realize the maybe 0.01% end up there, I mean, the gap between expectation and fulfillment that's going to happen for people who are, what we grew up wanting to be lawyers, doctors, magicians, sports players.
I want to be a boxer.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? And it's that, right? But now, where you're going all in on trying to be an influencer from 11 years old. It's there's going to be a real gap between expectation and fulfillment, and you sort of worry about what the hangover of that is.
Couldn't agree more.
But that's why it's important to amplify conversations like this, where maybe we're asking questions and hopefully bring something a bit different. But questions for you. So my first one is, single biggest risk you've ever taken, and what was the outcome?
Single biggest risk. I think in business terms, you're always taking risks. I mean, if you aren't taking risks in what you're doing and trying to change the norm and challenge the system, maybe this isn't the right realm that you should be in. So I think you should always be taking risks. I think in business, I've been very strong on standing up to what I don't believe in or what I think is right, and also with customers, big customers, NHS, supermarkets. These are big, strong companies that you rely on to pay people their bonuses and their wages, which is the most important thing. And I think really for me, I've been very strong at times. It's been very, very risky to protect the people that I represent. That's my job as a leader, as a CEO, whatever you want to define it as. So I think that is the biggest risk on business terms. I think on a more personal note, which I think is missed a lot of the time, is your happiness and health that you risk dedicating yourself to what you believe in and want to achieve is by far the biggest risk I've ever taken. So, I never went to university, never done any of these things. I've been head on my business since, 1920. So, for me, the times that I've passed up, the health risks, the happiness, the things I've never enjoyed, the beautiful moments, because of stress and demands and everything else, think now as I'm getting a wee bit older and wiser, that's probably the biggest risk I've had and I've missed.
Wow, amazing answer. And it's the brutal reality sometimes of being a solo entrepreneur. Yeah,
people don't see that. They see you've touched on the football club, and anybody knows about the football club or other things I've done, but they don't see the sleepless nights, the not speaking to your family because you want to be alone, the stress. They don't see all these things, the health conditions that come with all that. It's what is it? It's the base of the iceberg. Don't see that. You only see the tip. So, when you're stressed and when you're down and when you're having a hard day, it's okay. It's going to happen. Don't ever think that's not going to happen, but you need to keep going.
Yeah.
You need to keep going and focus on yourself and try and make it better.
And is that something that you're doing now more in terms of carving out time to respect your boundaries around health and those things? That's something that you say.
Yeah, 100%. Because if you don't look after the ship, it's not going to go anywhere. So you've got to make sure that's a priority.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
We speak to so many really successful entrepreneurs, and I think one of the things that I see, which is a really strange part about the journey, is actually the more successful you become, actually the more isolating it is, because very often the problems that bring a lot of people together are very different problems to ones that you solve. And I find a lot of entrepreneurs really struggle on the friendship side of things because actually you become quite alienated at times from, people having a totally different set of problems. Yep. And that does lead to a lot of people saying, I need to be alone, because it's hard to have people really empathize with that.
Couldn't agree more. As we just touched on, people look at you and maybe see what you have and think that's happiness. Whereas it's better to travel than to arrive. It's the journey is what the value is. The time is the most valuable thing you ever have. And when you put your head down and just barter through the days to try and get somewhere within your business or whatever you're trying to achieve, you can easily neglect the things that matter most to you. And that's not just health, that's everything. And I think people need to understand that that's what you sign up for if you really want to achieve as an entrepreneur or a business owner.
100%. Okay. What are you proudest of?
What am I proudest of? What am I most proudest of? What would that be? Through COVID time, I think I really respected and was so proud of what me and my team achieved. So we had to stay open to service all the hospitals. We also had to service the supermarkets throughout COVID times. So we made a conscious decision as a group to stay open. So the 600 staff kept going, and we obviously put everything in place to keep them safe. but we worked throughout the whole of COVID, and we said, right, we'll be the first in, the last to leave, to show that we're in this with you. All higher management directors and myself as the owner, we took that conscious decision to do that. And from that, we all your vaccination trays came in pulp trays, our trays. So any vaccination you got would have came in the kidney dishes. So, you know, we got a big upside and we won a lot of business throughout that time. So even though it was a horrific time for humanity, from a business point of view, it was great. And I think it was very rewarding for the team. And weirdly enough, we actually won our first award after COVID, once things got back on track. And just to see the team's relief of, one, having employment, two, being successful and getting their bonuses, but also recognition of the hard work that they had done, because you're talking about large-scale manufacturing of everyday products. You're not talking about, you know, a couple of hundred pieces here. You're talking, you know, over 1 billion pieces, you know, all around the world. So to service that is a big, big task, especially during COVID. So I would say that's definitely the most proudest thing, or the proudest time I can remember.
Yeah, that's incredible. So many amazing boxes ticked there in terms of keeping people in work, getting them recognition, doing genuinely important work. And when I hear, every time I hear that billion, I want to see this factory, right? I can't actually imagine.
So it's 16 acres in Glasgow. So we build all the machines there. So anyone, if you ever want to come, you're more than welcome. Just let me know.
All right, I'm going to take you up on that one day. Okay.
Bring your dad.
Yeah, he'll love it. I love it. All right. Next one for you is there anything that you wish you did differently?
Is anything I think I do differently? I certainly don't have any regrets. There's, I think there's loads you would do differently looking back. I mean, I think you'd be quite foolish to think that, you know, you've done everything right and you're perfect. Far from it. And you need those failures to make you stronger and to make you understand. I think that's another thing for some of the youth today that I meet anyway. You know, they hear all about business on Dragon's Den or from Alan Sugar or from social media. And when we were growing up, business wasn't, you know, what it is today. You know, now Elon Musk, all these people, they're superstars, right? You know, everybody knows about them. Back in the day, it wasn't like that, or certainly for me, it wasn't like that. So I think the failures made me who I am today, and I feel incredibly strong, and I'm still as ambitious as I've ever been. So I don't think I would change anything, and I don't have any regrets, I would say.
Love that. Okay.
I would. Hopefully.
Yeah, no, amazing.
I might think of something when I leave, but I think the struggles make who you are.
Yeah.
And you've got to keep struggling, you've got to keep learning and failing and moving on. But do it quickly. Don't sit on it, don't beat yourself up. You know, take those failures and move on and try and make it better. That's 100%. What I would say.
And it takes me to my next question, which is, what does it take to be successful?
Does it take to be successful? I think there's many different answers to that, and I wouldn't want anyone thinking there's one blueprint, because I can guarantee you that that's not true. So what I would say to people, I think we almost touched on it a wee bit, is roll your sleeves up, get out there, make something happen, do something. Don't sit and wait for the perfect plan. Don't wait and buy somebody's online course to try and find out how you're going to make your first million. Don't do it. Go and try and do something. If it's a job, whatever, just get out there and do it, because you'll learn. You know, people should have jobs and experiences that don't work out, because that's where you see opportunities to make things better. That's where you can adapt and see, well, I met that person, they weren't willing to give that service, they got let down, but the customer wants that. Maybe I can do that. You won't know that sitting in your bedroom. You know, you won't know that with blinders on. So what I would say is, I think it's very basic, but it's so true, is just get stuck in, go and make it happen.
Love that. This is gold. Okay, my last question for you.
Is that all right? Is that's okay?
That's
I don't know if you wanted some big academic answer, and I thought I'm not the guy for that.
No, this is. I think this is the point, right? Is that, you know, theory will only take you so far, right? The reality is you've got to get in it, and I think you know, nothing will ever be experienced, and it's why you often, you know, this is not a rare story of someone who didn't go to university but has a huge business, done all these amazing things, because actually they started just getting into it, at an early age. So I think it's amazing practical advice.
Yeah, especially for starting out. I just don't sit and wait for this perfect plan, because you'll be waiting all day. Years will go by, and then you've done nothing.
Just and then you realise there is no perfect plan.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
Okay, my last one for you is 15-year-old David walks in the room right now. What are you going to tell him?
What would I tell him that I know? Tell him advice that I know now?
He walks into the room right now. What are you going to tell him?
God, he's handsome. No, I'm only joking. I'm joking. What would I tell him? I think I would tell him two things from knowing what I know now. No one's coming to save you. No one's coming to do it for you. Back to what we just spoke about. Better get out there and make something happen, or nothing's going to come your way. I think that's what I would tell him at the beginning. I think that's the main thing he would need to know to make a difference in his life. And then secondly to that, make sure you put yourself first. I don't mean that as in just financially or anything, but make sure for your health, for your happiness, make sure you spend enough time with the family, make sure you do things for yourself, because it's very easy to see the decades go by. I'm talking like I'm 80 years old, but I'll be honest with you now. I've got I don't have hobbies. I don't have anything I do outside my business and my passion, and I'm okay with that. But I think reflecting and looking back, it's really important to keep your sanity out with your business or your passion, because you need to have that balance. And since I've been 19, all I've done is what I'm still doing today.
David, you are an absolute legend. I appreciate this so much. Where can people find you? If you want to be found.
Yeah, I think don't bother about me. What I'm saying doesn't really matter, but go and try and make the biggest difference you can in your life. And also, don't beat yourself up. If you get things wrong, just keep going, man, and do the best you can do. So don't bother looking me up. Go and work on yourself.
Mate, that was incredible. Thank
Appreciate
you so much.
Cheers.
Thanks for watching the episode. And if you haven't subscribed, please hit subscribe below so that you can support the podcast and we can keep on bringing you amazing new guests. If you want to see the other amazing episodes in this podcast, click into our series section. As ever, if there are any other guests or topics you want us to explore, just let me know in the comments and we'll do our best to bring someone in.